What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video today, and today we are covering a relatively new game that was released onto Game Pass, and I decided to give it a try, and that is Evil West. We're going to go over some of the things that I like, some of the things that I dislike, and at the end I'm going to give you what my recommendation is for this game. So let's get into it, guys. This game was developed by Flying Wild Hog, and it was released on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Xbox Game Pass. So we're going to start off with the overall setting and story and the general premise of this game, and that is you play as this character named Jesse Redner, and he is one of the last agents of this vampire hunting organization that is tasked with trying to protect the American frontier from these supernatural monsters. It is set in an alternate Wild West setting where towns are getting overtaken by these vampires. You get these vast open backdrops that you can look out throughout the levels that you play to give you that kind of feel of the emptiness that the Wild West was back in the day, and honestly currently still is, and gives you that feeling that no one is near to help you, and how scary and post-apocalyptic it can feel, almost Mad Max-esque. You see these towns that have been destroyed, and it gives you, like I said, that post-apocalyptic, like, America has been overtaken and you're the last hope. Now, I do want to preface, do not go into this game expecting a well-written, engaging story. There's not much character development, and honestly, the big thing to me, it's one of those games you don't expect to play and see out this incredible story. It's more about the gameplay. Think of it as almost like a Doom or something of that nature, or like Halo. Well, Halo's a bad example, but something where you're just kind of going in there and just you're there to have fun with the gameplay. The story, yes, is in the background and it gives you the setting of everything, but it's not going to be super, at least in my opinion, and from what I was reading online and what a lot of people feel as well. It's just kind of one of those games you just want to go in and have fun. As for the gameplay mechanics and the UI, everything is very simple. It doesn't go into super deep controls. The combat, it's more about performing combos and chaining kills together, as well as timing your attacks and constantly moving. As you level up your character, you slowly gain more abilities, more upgrades, new melee attacks and combos, new upgrades for your guns. So it's kind of a mix of a melee slash shooter, third-person shooter. Your character has its own skill tree that you can develop to help increase these skills. As for the exploration of this game, it is a very linear game. There's no side quests that you continue on. It's a very straightforward path. In a lot of ways, it's very reminiscent of older games from 15, 20 years ago, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on what you're expecting to get out of this game. And that is something that is very straightforward and satisfying. So it gives me that feeling of like what an old school PS2 game or a GameCube game was, where you're just kind of following that path. There's nothing that's kind of letting you be able to explore and do things. And I know that's kind of the wave in modern storytelling games, but this one, it's kind of nice to just go in there and not have to think about that stuff. You just do what you got to do, whatever's in front of you. The game does have a little bit of puzzles, and the puzzles within the levels are very straightforward. As long as you look around, you will see them and understand exactly what you're supposed to shoot and how to advance throughout the level. So it's not meant to be super complex, something like a Tomb Raider or like a Portal. There is slight puzzles, but as long as you look around, you got it. Now, as a comparison to other games in the genre, I would compare this game a lot to Doom, like I mentioned earlier, but with the third-person view and the aesthetic of Red Dead Redemption. It is very similar in a way that you just are the baddest dude in the game. You just smash everything in front of you while chaining together some amazing combos and very straightforward levels. Now let's get into the general graphics and audio and the visual presentation of this game. The cutscenes look amazing. I think the cutscenes look very, very good. In terms of graphics, there was moments where I was like, wow, like these backdrops, these sceneries, the way this game looks amazing. And then 5 minutes later, I would see parts of the level, especially in the backdrops, where things just looked very dated, almost like from a previous console generation. And I don't know if that's because they had to make it compatible with the older consoles, but it was very odd because you might see it in the gameplay here where there's moments where it looks amazing, it looks great, super detailed, but then you look out and you kind of examine it and you're like, oh, like this doesn't match certain areas that I'm seeing, especially doesn't match the cutscenes because the cutscenes look incredible. But I thought the general art style looked very good with a lot of details and a lot of assets, and I never felt that the levels were empty. They did make sure to do a great job of really filling out areas and levels to feel real, to feel this post-apocalyptic, this destruction that is going on in these landscapes. Because one thing I hate when you start to see in some of the single player games is just lack of assets and lacks of little minor details, because those minor details really add to the overall effect and feeling of the game. In terms of audio, the sound effects were very well done. I thought the melee hits and the guns were very punchy and sounded great, no issues at all. The soundtrack really matched the setting of the world. From an audio perspective, I thought it was awesome. As for technical issues, I personally had no issues with the performance of the game. I ran it on high settings with virtually no major frame drops. I did come across a lot of graphical glitches, and not just myself, but also my friend that I was playing co-op with. We both experienced a lot of graphical problems. I did occasionally fall through the map, which would be kind of annoying, and the only way to get out of that is basically restarting your last save. Whether it be me or my friend, we were both kind of falling through the map, and it seems to be, now that the game has been out since late 2022, probably not going to fix it, my guess. But overall, nothing super major or game breaking. I really didn't find any issues. I mean, some of the minor graphical things and the falling through the maps, and like I said, in a lot of ways the game feels very reminiscent of the PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox era, early Xbox 360 era. Now, as for replayability and multiple endings and new games plus and more content and replay value, I don't necessarily see a whole lot to do once you beat it. The game is about 10 to 12 hours to complete, depending on how long it takes you to do it. So I wouldn't expect nothing super elaborate. It's going to be one of those games you're just going to kind of have fun, get in there and get out, and maybe never touch it again, or maybe play it later on down the road. Now I want to give my overall impressions of the game and let you guys know what my recommendation is. But before we get into it, if you guys haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to the content for more gaming reviews, gaming news, and gaming discussions just like this. But anyways, let's get into my impressions. So the first few hours of me playing the game, I thought it was a blast. It was super fun, especially playing with a buddy in co-op. Within that first 3 hours, I was getting excited with every new movement, every new combo I can do. The animations were crisp, satisfying. I was having, honestly, it was a super fun time. Me and my buddy were having a blast. But honestly, over time, I found myself getting more and more bored as I was going through the levels. The bosses were cool and unique, but everything in between those boss fights kind of felt the same over and over again, performing the same moves. The gameplay quickly got repetitive, and the story wasn't doing enough to really keep me hooked. I felt like after a while, upgrades didn't really make the gameplay any different, in my opinion. But overall, I found the game to be alright. I would have liked to see more variety in level design and enemies. If you want something a little mindless and have already beaten Doom, I would suggest something like this, because this will fill that need that you want, because there's not much else going on outside of that. It is on Game Pass, so if it does interest you, I would highly recommend getting it on Game Pass. But honestly, I don't necessarily see the replayability enough to really buy the game, especially at the price point at what it is. I recommend getting this on Game Pass if you have Game Pass. Overall, I would give this game a 6.5 out of 10. It really has some fun moments, especially with a friend, but it really starts to get repetitive, and I don't think the gameplay is deep enough to keep people interested, especially with the lackluster story that it has. But anyways, like I said, thank you guys for watching to the end of the review. And if you guys liked it and want to see more reviews like this, as well as gaming news and discussions, please feel free to like, turn on those notification bells, and be prepared to hear more reviews and more discussions in the coming weeks. See you later, guys. Peace out.